Hello friends. So today we are going to discuss another important topic in percentage, which is called successive percentage. So many a times we are asked questions on quantitative aptitude where uh, we have to we have to apply percentages successively to a particular number or amount. Uh, uh, one simple example can be that suppose uh, person A's salary just yeah so suppose person A's salary is first increased by 20% and then in the subsequent year it increased by 30%. So by how much percent his salary actually increased over these two successive percentages? So the question is like A's salary first increased by 20% and then further increased by 30%. So what is the overall salary increment for A? Uh, so this will not be equal to 50%, right? Because this is a successive percentage, uh, not applied at the same time, but over a period of time and successively. So, for example, if the initial salary was 100, it would be 120 after the first increment, and it would be 156 after the second increment, which is not equal to 150. So the actual percentage increment was 56%, right? Similarly, there might be questions like, uh, so for example, a stock, the value of a stock, let's say I had a stock, the value of the stock increased by 30% in the morning, let's say, and then it got decreased by 20% in the evening, right? So what is the overall change in the price of stock? Did it increase or did it decrease? What is the overall percentage change in the value of the stock, right? So another again we can it won't be it won't be 10% increase, right? Because we can again take a number 100. So after 30% increment it will be 130, and after 20% decrement it will be 104. So it is 4% increase, not 10% increase, right? So these type of problems have application in this type of problem have application in different areas. They find some application in simple percentage calculation, and also in profit loss, time and distance, time and work, uh, uh, product stability, all kind of problems. So we'll try to discuss few one or two examples today to understand this concept better, and also how can we generalize this thing, right? So first, I'll we can formulate this with a formula. So suppose I have a number, I have some number x, right? And then it was changed by a% and then by b%. Now it can either be an increment or decrement, right? So what is the eventual change in excess value, right? So that can be calculated with this simple formula. So what it says, so a and b are the actual percentage values. So what it says that if a% and b% changes were applied to x successively, then eventually the overall effect will be a plus b plus a into b by 100%, right? So in the earlier question when we said that a salary was first increased by 20% and then by 30%, so what is the overall increment in the salary? And we had deduced that it is 56%, right? So we can put that into this formula: 12 plus 20 plus 30 plus 20 into 30 by 100 percentages, right? Which is nothing but 50 plus 6%, 56%, right? And similarly, so in the next example we saw that okay, we have a stock which first got increased, the value got increased by 30%, and then it got decreased by 20%, right? So our A is 30, but our B is minus 20. So again the same formula can be applied, which is 30 minus 20 minus 30 into 20 upon 100, which is 10 minus 6, which is 4%, right? So this formula can be applied to calculate the successive percentage change and the overall effect of all the successive change. Now if also we had three such percentages like A percent, B percent, and C percent, then also we can start with taking these two and take a cumulative or the overall percent, the change in the percent. So let's say we get it as D percent, and then we can take these two value and put in that same formula to get the final amount or final change in the percentages, right? So we can extend this for any number of successive percentage. We just have to take two in a pair and then calculate the overall change, and then do it with other numbers also or other percentages also. Okay, so sometimes there are tricky questions based on these concept, which at first it looks like uh, it is very trivial, but then you'll have to just remember that the successes percentage is a thing, and then it is not same as cumulative percentage, like when we do it together both the percentage values. So one example can be that a shopkeeper actually has a product, and he marked it up by 20% and then gave a discount of 20%. Okay, so this was the discount, and this was, so the marked price he raised by 20%, and then he gave a 20% discount. So what is the overall profit or loss for the shopkeeper? Or was so yeah, so what is the overall loss or profit? So we should not just say that since they increased it by 20% and then give 20% discount, they have a zero profit or loss. No, right? Because again the successive percentage will come into picture. So we can say that my A is 20 and B is minus 20. So this is 20 minus 20 minus 20 into 20 by 100, which is, this will be cancelled out. So ultimately it is a 4% loss, right? So we should not just jump to a option where it is zero, and we should just think it through that since it is a successive percentage for equation or successive percentage scenario, we cannot just add the percentages together. Okay, similarly this idea can also be extended to a type of problem where, let's say, I have two numbers. So I have this equation, right? I have A into B, which is equal to C. So also the same successive thing can be applied here. Like if I increase A by X percent and I increase B by Y percent, what is the overall effect on C? By how much it will increase? So again it is not so we'll have to, so this is also a successive percentage application, because I have a product A into B. First I am incrementing that with X percent, and then I am incrementing that by Y percent. So again this will be X plus Y plus XY by 100%, right? So let's say the problem says that the price of petrol was increased by 20%. So the price of petrol was increased by 20%, but the expense got only increased by 10%. Okay, so what is the increase or decrease in the consumption? That is, you have to find out, right? So if you did not uh, decrease your consumption, then any increase in the price, so if there was 20% hike in the price, because petrol into price into consumption is your expense, right? So whatever x percentage did you increment the price with, the expenditure will also increase with the same percentage if you were to keep this consumption as constant. But since it is saying that uh, my expenditure only increased by 10%, that means that I have reduced my consumption by some amount, and that is the percentage that we have to find. So again, we can apply the successive percentage formula here. So we can say if this is x, this is y, so the overall effect on E would be x plus y plus xy by 100, right? Will be the overall percentage. We know x is 20, right? So we have to put that, and we know this is 10, and then we have to solve this for y, right? So this is a linear equation with only one variable, so we can solve it for y, and this will give us the it will give us a negative value. You can see that this will become minus 20, minus 10 here when 20 goes there. So that means that it will be decremented. Okay, the consumption will be decreased by certain percentages that you can easily calculate, right? So this was the successive percentage concept, which you can apply on these questions, like whenever you are having any product, and then you are given that some a part of product is increased or decreased by certain percentage, then by how much the other should be decreased or increased to keep this as constant. Let's say my question was that if I increased my price of my product, by what amount my consumption should be decreased, so that my expenditure is remaining constant. It is not the expenditure remains the same. So you could also put that into this formula, wherein the overall percentage change will be 0, and then you can solve for that, right? So that will give you the uh, equivalent decrease in your consumption, right? So I hope this was clear, and I made this clear with these examples. You can go through my previous videos in the playlist quantitative aptitude on my channel. You can also give a thumbs up to this video and subscribe to the channel, so that you get to know about all the these tip and tricks that I bring to you. Thank you very much.